This is your AMTV. If you're wondering what you need to do as a high school student to stand out as an applicant among hundreds of thousands of other college applicants who have similar academic backgrounds as you, tune in to today's episode on AMTV. Hey guys, welcome to AMTV. My name is Jenny. I've been working as a counselor, teacher, mentor, admissions reader for over a decade. And I started this channel to help you guys understand a little bit about college admissions and really to share information about supporting you throughout your college journey or your high school journey. We also have a podcast that you can check out at the Hall Pass podcast below. So, 3 ways that you can stand out as an applicant, as a student, as you're preparing throughout your high school journey. The first way that you can stand out is to share your unique passion. College admissions want to see that every single student has some sort of unique passion, that they're developing that passion over time, or they're really interested in something. And that could be anything, right? So I can dive into this a little bit more. So one thing that you can do in terms of, showing your unique passion would be to combine your interests. So maybe you are a student who loves art, but you also love science, right? So then you're combining your interests in art and science, right? So that could be one way in which you can kind of show your unique passion. Or maybe you genuinely love something that is different. Honestly, I've had students who are really passionate about gardening, and they created like a rooftop garden in their high school, or they created like some sort of rooftop garden in their apartment building. I've also had students who've had rock collections, believe it or not. They're really passionate about different types of rocks. And again, as I mentioned earlier, people have combined interests like art and science. I've also had students combine interests like music and science. I had a student who really loved piano and played piano her entire life, but she also really loved science. And so she combined music and science and created this really amazing program for kids, elementary school kids in music and science. So that's what I mean by unique passion, right? There's something that you really, really love. Now, I've definitely had students tell me like, well, I really love video games, or like, I really love, sleeping, right? Is that a passion? I definitely feel like that could be something that you can develop as a passion. I'm not going to knock down video games at all, because I've had students who've combined video games and playing video games with like marketing and doing business, right? I've also had students who go into film based on developing and editing, video game kind of backgrounds and environments. So I've really seen this expand before. So don't knock a passion. I feel like definitely try to find some sort of uniqueness factor in terms of looking for a passion that you love, or combining interests that you might not feel like could have been combined in the past before. Think about things that you absolutely enjoy doing in which you can utilize to make an impact in your community. And that's what I'm going to be talking about, throughout my other episodes, is kind of talking about these extracurricular activities. But really think about something that you absolutely enjoy. Because once you enjoy something, then it's going to develop into a passion. And then you want to utilize that to make an impact in your community. And that part is really important. The second way that you can kind of stand out from other applicants is your personal story. I feel like a lot of my students feel like, well, I don't have a personal story. My life is pretty normal. It's very average, right? Like, I grew up with my mom and dad, like I grew up with me and, my younger brother or sister, right? And they feel like they don't have a personal story. I'm here to tell you that every single student that I've worked with, digging far enough and digging kind of like deep enough into conversations, I've learned that every single person has some sort of personal story. They have some sort of uniqueness factor. They have some sort of story that they can tell college admissions about who they are and why they became the person that they are. So this is really shown through your letters, your recommendation letters, and your college essays. And obviously you should be able to talk about this in those, which we'll also talk about in a future episode. But this is also an opportunity for you to talk about challenges, right? And how you overcame those challenges. This could be family challenges. It could be your personal challenges, right? You can also share your family story. Maybe your parents, came from a really interesting background, or they traveled or immigrated, or maybe you immigrated, right? These are these family stories that you can share, and how that's influenced you as a person to be who you are today. your background, right? Your culture, your interests, right? These are all part of your personal stories. So don't feel like you don't have a personal story. I feel like if you dig enough and you ask yourself, well, what do I want admission officers to know about me, right? What is it that I really want to share about who I am? You should be able to find your personal story. I promise you, every single person has some sort of personal story that they can share. The third way that you can make yourself unique and stand out amongst other applicants is through your extracurricular activities and experiences, which seem kind of obvious, but to be very honest, a lot of high school students have very similar extracurricular activities because they come from the same high school, right? And high schools have the same types of extracurricular activities and clubs. Like, I'm sure you guys have heard things like National Honor Society or Key Club, right? Or even like Environmental Science Club, right? Or there's different culture clubs like Korean Club or Japanese Club, right? Spanish Club, right? So you've heard of these clubs before, and they exist very similarly in a lot of high schools. So it's very obvious that, many different high school students may have very similar clubs on their college applications. But there is a way that you can stand out amongst other applicants, even if you have very similar, clubs and organizations at your school. More to that on a future episode. I know I'm leaving a lot of cliffhangers today, but really there's a lot of different things that you can do for your activities. But you definitely want to think about your passions, as I mentioned earlier, and what you can do to stand out that's different from other people. It's okay to join a lot of different clubs. It's okay to be a part of organizations that your friends are in or that your school has available. But then beyond that, what are you doing? One or two of these activities. What are you doing to make yourself stand out that is unique to you, right? And again, more on that on a future episode. But like I mentioned earlier, let me just dive into one very specific example of my student that I told you was really passionate about music and science. She created this really amazing kind of project where she combined music with science. So she kind of talks about, the science behind how music is created, right? The waves and things of that nature. She dives into, let's say, for example, she was talking about saxophones, and she goes into a saxophone and talks about the science behind saxophones. She creates YouTube videos and shares them with students all over the world, especially younger students. It's primarily for elementary school students. And then she does like DIY projects at home where you can make your own saxophone or make your own guitar using like boxes and rubber bands and strings and things like that. And that's how she's combining music and science and bringing that to each student's home, right, through videos. And so these are what I mean by uniqueness, right? This is what I mean by bringing uniqueness into your activities and organizations beyond just what clubs and things like that are available at your high school. And there you have it. These are the few ways that you can stand out as an applicant. Again, if you found this episode helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And let me know what other topics you want me to talk about by commenting below. Until next time, this was your AMTV.